On November 28th, Metallica dropped their first new single in 6 years, called Lux Aeterna. Accompanying the song was the announcement of Metallica's 11th studio album, 72 Seasons, and a massive 2-year world tour featuring more than half a dozen different supporting acts, including Architects, Mammoth Wolfgang Van Halen, Five Finger Death Punch, Volbeat, Pantera, and more. Naturally, this jam-packed release has garnered a lot of buzz in the last few days, but is all the hype surrounding this new song warranted? Well, today, we're gonna find out. Metallica's last album, Hardwired to Self-Destruct, was released in 2016, meaning this new record will come after a 7-year break. The writing process for 72 Seasons was slow due to numerous hindrances, but the pandemic essentially forced them off the stage and into home studios, where they began really digging into their ideas. The record's full track list has already been released, comprised of 12 songs lasting around 77 minutes. This is no surprise for Metallica, as they've hovered around a dozen songs and the 75-minute mark for albums ever since their 1996 record Load. What more people are finding interesting, though, is the album art and the title itself. As James Hetfield describes, 72 Seasons is a reference to the first 18 years of one's life, which are some of the most transformative years a person will ever have. The artwork depicts broken toys and objects surrounding a fractured crib, as if to suggest one's childhood has been shattered into pieces over time. I'm sure many more hidden meanings will come to light as more songs are released, but for now, let's turn our attention to the lead single, Lux Aeterna. I'll be honest, I am far from a super fan of Metallica, so when listening to this song, I don't have the context of someone who's been following them for years and knows every song by heart. That said, I had some immediate reactions as soon as this song started. Metallica has always had a very distinct mix, even on reviled albums like Saint Anger. When it started, Lux Aeterna sounded just like the Metallica songs of old, but with better recording technology and more clarity. Even a guy who knows much less of their music than he should was able to recognize the band's sound instantly. Some people may consider this to be a sign of complacency, but honestly, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Metallica's mixing was one of their biggest draws early on, so as long as you can keep it sounding relevant and clean, do what works if you're content with it. That said, I've never been in love with the drum sounds of Metallica, and this song is no different. That primarily stems from the kick drum. A lot of modern metal features a bright, clicky kick drum sound, almost like someone is snapping a raw spaghetti noodle with every hit. I'm not a fan of this mixing choice, mainly because I find it takes away from the power of the snare drum. After all, if every kick note has a real punchy accent to it, then big hits on the snare drum that are supposed to have the same effect are going to be less noticeable. I love the sound of a good snare crack. So in turn, I also prefer the kick drum to be less snappy and a little bit more thuddy. This is a personal preference, but it's likely why I haven't gotten into Metallica's music as much as, say, Alter Bridge or Volbeat. And speaking of Volbeat, this song reminded me heavily of The Mirror and the Ripper from their 2010 album Beyond Hell Above Heaven, simply because the main riff is accompanied by constant 16th notes in the double bass. The actual guitar riff, though, reminded me a little bit of the song Locomotive by Big Wreck. They both start with a quick turnaround that falls downward to the root of the key signature, kind of like ba-da-da-doo. However, it's not like either of these similarities are evidence of plagiarism or a lack of creativity. They're both commonly used elements in rock and metal, so there's gonna be some overlap across artists. So, did I enjoy the song? Yeah. It's a lot of fun. It's got the same elements that make me enjoy similar tracks by Volbeat and Big Wreck, but with the signature Metallica twist. Despite being aggressive and up-tempo, this song has a great groove and a memorable melody that will get stuck in your head instantly. As usual, James's lyrics are cryptic and vague, but certainly not without meaning. Lux Aeterna comes from the Roman Catholic Requiem Mass, performed in honor of the dead, and has been used with many different musical works from the last century, including multiple albums, choral works, movie soundtracks, and more. Loosely translated to Eternal Light, Lux Aeterna is likely an ode to John Zazula, the founder of Megaforce Records and the first promoter to sign Metallica to a label. Zazula passed away earlier this year, to which Metallica responded in tribute with, quote, "Heavy music lost one of its great champions today when Johnny Z left this world far too soon. In 1982, when no one wanted to take a chance on 4 kids from California playing a crazy brand of metal, Johnny and Marcia did, and the rest, as they say, is history." I gotta say, I'm not in love with the lyrical content of this track, but I can get past that to just enjoy it for what it is. a grooving, thrashy metal tune that knows not to overstay its welcome. And so that brings us back to the big question. Is Lux Aeterna worth all the hype? I'd say so. It's pretty fun and energetic, and though I'm not personally a fan of every mixing choice, it's still really enjoyable to listen to. James's vocals are bold and gritty, and you'd be hard-pressed to find other metal vocalists who still sound this good at his age. The lyrics of this track don't do much for me personally, but I know that they do hold significance for the band and probably a lot of other Metallica fans, so I can look past that to just enjoy the song for what it is. Combine all of this with the announcement of a massive globetrotting tour and the band's first record in 7 years, and metal fans have a lot to look forward to in the upcoming months. We'll see if Metallica can keep up this momentum with their next single, and hopefully Live Nation and Ticketmaster don't screw us all over with insane ticket prices for their tour. Maybe if 72 Seasons becomes one of my favorite records from 2023, I might have to scrounge up the cash for one of those Minneapolis dates. In the meantime, let me know your thoughts on Lux Aeterna down in the comments, and check out this playlist with more videos about cool metal bands. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.